Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all the ships at sea. It's been a while since I made any videos because of this past election just got me so pissed off that I had to get off and stop watching the news and just give myself a break. You know, I don't understand how we're not able to convince the population that the country is falling. It's falling. And why is it falling? You know, somehow the intelligence agencies and all these globalists have gotten together and decided that it's not in the Earth's best interest to have a sovereign United States. They need to get rid of the Constitution. They need to get rid of God in order to take over the country and create a global government. As far as the government is concerned, there really is no government anymore. Republicans, Democrats, and Democrats, they're all full of shit. All of them. They get into office, they take money from all of these big businesses from around the world. They use the term big tech. And they're taking money from big tech. Well, it's not just big tech, it's global. It's a global movement. Global government is what they're after. But they have to remove the Constitution and God in order for them to achieve their objective. Folks, this is not an accident. If you're a Democrat and you're a Republican and you believe in anything that these politicians are saying, you're losing. The Republic, in fact, is falling. They put a president in there who obviously is not have all his faculties. And they have to drug him up just for him to complete a speech in any kind of coherent manner. They won't let him take any questions. And how many times have you heard him say, "Oh, I'm not supposed to take questions," or "That's going to get me in trouble"? With who? With who? This global government thing. Did you ever wonder why the economy in the United States is so bad? Inflation is so high, people can't even pay their bills, but the stock market is surging over 35,000 now, or 3,500, whatever it is. I mean, how is that possible? Because they're making money in all these other countries where the cheap labor, like for instance China. Nobody wants to talk about China. Why? Because China is their main goal for the whole planet. They want all of us to work as cheaply as possible in order to so they can make the money. So all of you people in the stock market that are supporting all this stuff for your own short-term gain better understand that your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren will never know the great country that you grew up in. The country that gave you the opportunity to get where you are. They'll never know it. Because the global government, is going to control everything. They're going to tell people to jump, and people are going to have to say, well, how high, or they're going to be prosecuted. Think about what's going on. They got these school board meetings where parents are objecting to their children being subject to these sexual books that are going on, and they got these freaks, these transvestite freaks dressing around in their sexy outfits in front of second graders, and they're making that seem normal. You know, the gay movement and the transvestite movement, they're like two different things. I don't believe that the gay people who actually are decent people and they adopt children are agreeing that they want their children to have all this sex stuff taught to them. In California, they want to be able to have gender reassignment to children without notifying the parents. They're separating they're convincing the children and through the education system that the system, the government, is more powerful than their parents. You don't have to listen to what your parents say. You can listen to what the government says. Trust us. We know best. Well, that's a bunch of shit. That's a bunch of shit. And the Republicans now, they're taking office in a couple more weeks over there in January, and they think, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. We're going to stop. They ain't going to do shit because they're taking the same money from everybody else that the Democrats are taking the money from. Do you ever hear them talking about impeachment? Ever hear them talking about impeachment of Biden and Harris? For nothing else other than negligence? For not protecting the country, for not defending the country from this insurgency that's going on at the border. We're being attacked. We're being attacked. Oh, here's something for you to think about. China is sending the chemicals over to Mexico, and Mexico is turning it in. The Mexican cartels are turning these chemicals into these pills that they seem to be making look like Tylenol or other kinds of harmless drugs. And there's fentanyl in those drugs. They're what do you call, phony. You know, they're not really the right drugs that they think they're taking. And they got 100,000 people died last year. Over 100,000 died from overdoses last year. You know, when they attacked the Trade Center, which we don't know who attacked the Trade Center, 3,000 people died. We went to war over in Afghanistan and Iraq for 20 years. We fought 20 years because they killed 3,000 of our people. 20 years. Thousands and thousands of boys. Of how many thousands of young men and women died over there because they attacked the World Trade Center and killed 3,000 people. But 100,000 people died from overdoses last year, and you don't hear a peep out of them. Nothing. Where's the media? ABC, NBC, MSNBC, Washington Post. You're all a bunch of scumbags for letting this country fall. You know, your children could be next on this overdose list, you bunch of bastards. Your children could be next on the overdose list. But you go ahead, don't report it. Don't report it, no, because it doesn't fit the agenda. Boy, don't come crying to me or anybody else when your children die of overdose because you didn't do anything to help stop it. The country's being attacked, folks. It's being attacked. And they're using a divide and conquer mentality inside the country so nobody knows what's going on. They're convincing people that, it's white supremacy. The white supremacists are causing everybody. Where is the white supremacy? Where's the violence? Have you ever seen any videos of this so-called white supremacy? Of the attacking people or any kind of violence on the part of the white supremacists? There's a couple of nut jobs out there. Nobody's going to dispute that. But they want to make it sound like everything is white supremacists. But meanwhile, Black Lives Matter and Antifa are not being investigated at all. At all. Who's funding Antifa and Black Lives Matter? It's communist organizations from outside the country. And, of course, Mr. George Soros. We don't mention George Soros' name. Oh, no. But Elon Musk, he's supposed to be a piece of shit because he's allowing the truth to get out. Elon Musk, now get this, Elon Musk, according to them, is a piece of shit. But George Soros, you never hear anything bad about him. And he's supporting a lot of this stuff. The voting fraud and the Democrat movement for the communist movement for Antifa and Black Lives Matter. He's supporting. And this whole thing about the gay movement is just, nobody's really against the gay movement anymore. There's gay people in everybody's family, and everybody knows it. Nobody's saying anymore that two men can't marry or two women can't marry, except maybe the far right religious movement, which is nobody's really buying that anyway. But when you got these transvestites running around in their crazy clothes in front of children, and you're saying that boys can use girls' bathrooms and men can join women's sports, well, you're just supposed to have a women's movement has been going on since the 60s. women have been trying to come out from underneath and get themselves up, and they've elevated themselves over the years. But then you have somebody who is a man, participates in a woman's sports, and beats the woman hands down. Not a peep. Where's the women's rights? They don't have a right to their own trophies and their own success stories? Where's the women's rights? Folks, you better understand something. The Republic is falling. I'm kind of coming to the conclusion now that the Republic has fallen. And I just don't know how long that has been. When I went to school back in the 60s, and they were talking about global government way back then. This is not something new. They've been talking about it way back then. Well, if they achieve their objective and do away with the sovereignty of the United States and do away with our republic, we're all going to be slaves to these big globalists. They'll tell you where to live. They'll tell you where to work. They'll tell you where to shit. Folks, think about what's going on. If you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, think about what's going on. You got to write to your senators and write to your congresspeople and let them know, we're not going to take this anymore. We're not going to take this anymore. And any time that anybody gets out there and says a major protests, they try to organize any kind of major protests, let's say a march on Washington or school board meetings or something like that, and any kind of major protest, the government shuts them down. This piece of shit, Merrick Garland, is Attorney General. They wanted to put him on the Supreme Court. He puts out there because the globalists tell him, we've got to shut down this protest at the school board meetings. You know, a man's daughter was raped in the bathroom of the school because he went into the girls' bathroom wearing a skirt because they allowed him to use the bathroom. And he raped the girl in that bathroom. They didn't arrest him. They didn't prosecute him at all. They shipped him off to another school where he did the same thing. That's criminal. That's criminal. And nobody's talking about these people that are in charge of this. You know, if you are aware of any kind of child abuse like that, you are obligated by law to report it. If you're a professional or a teacher or a cop or a hospital worker, if you see any kind of abuse like that, you're obligated to report it. They didn't. They broke the law with that alone, and they should be prosecuted. And what happened after the father went to the school board meeting to ask the school board, how could you not protect my daughter from being raped in the bathroom? And he became angry with them because the answers they were giving him were just so full of shit. He started yelling, and the police came in and tackled him to the ground. Then Merrick Garland came out and said, well, these are domestic terrorists. Domestic terrorists? They're parents. They're parents. Have you ever seen the people that they're talking about? You know, Donald Trump came in and he tried to go against all of this stuff that's going on. And his rallies, have you ever seen the people at his rallies? They're all happy. They're nice people. They're ordinary Americans that go to work every day to support their family and raise their kids and feed their kids. A lot of religious people go to Trump rallies, and that's another reason why they want to do away with that. So what do they call the Trump people that go to the rallies? What do they call them? What's the name they call them? Deplorables? They're deplorables. They're horrible, horrible people. They're right-wing extremists and ultra MAGAs. Well, you know what? I guess you would call me an ultra MAGA because I believe in 99% of the stuff that Donald Trump says at his rallies. And I recently saw an interview that he did before he was president, way back when he was a young man, for David Letterman. And he was saying all the same things he says now about what's going on. He's genuinely trying to fight against it. And through two impeachments that failed, they were failed to convict him on these bogus charges. The intelligence agencies were all fucked up completely. They went into the court with phony documents and got warrants to spy on Trump. And anybody who right now is a Trump supporter, I'm waiting for them to come to my house, by the way. Anybody who's a Trump supporter, they sick the government on them. They like Paul Manafort and Roger Stone and people like that. And even a General Michael Flynn, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, a good patriot. They even went after him. Folks, this movement that they got going on it's not an accident. This is something that's been in the works for a long time. How are we going to stop it? I don't know. Did the Republic fall already? I don't know. If it didn't, is the Republic going to fall the way things are going right now? Absolutely. Absolutely. The only thing we're going to have in our favor right now is to either put Donald Trump back in office or put somebody like Ron DeSantis or even Greg Abbott. These are good people. These are good people. They don't want to be bought off by these radical business practices that are going on right now. Folks, I don't know what the answer is, but we better get together. You better organize peacefully, okay there, you bunch of assholes that are looking at this video trying to say, how do we shut him down? I'm calling for peaceful demonstrations, peaceful protests. Write to your government officials and let them know enough is enough. Organize at the local level. You know, they tried to do that with the Tea Party, and what did they do with the Tea Party? They sicked the IRS on them to shut them down. I was part of the Tea Party at that time. They went after the leadership of the Tea Party, the IRS did. And now Joe Biden hires 87,000 IRS agents, armed IRS agents. You know, it was perfectly acceptable for the IRS to send people a notice saying, come in for an audit and we're going to audit your taxes. And then you go in there, you bring your documents, and you're either found guilty of a crime or nothing, or they didn't do anything. But now they want armed IRS agents. What are they going to do? Knock on your door and say, where's the money? I know it's in your mattress somewhere. They think the money's in your house. Why do you need 87,000 armed IRS agents? Because it's just another arm of the government that's going to come after all of us. You got to think about, why do they want to shut down local law enforcement? Defund the police. Why? Why do they want to take away the police that defend the communities that they live in, that have a personal stake in the communities that they live in, and that's what they're serving? Why do they want to take them away? Because if you have law disorder and you need to restore order and you don't have your police department, who's going to do it? The federal government. They're going to come in with the National Guard and the troops and stuff like that in order to shut down the demonstrations that are probably going to happen sooner than later. In order to shut down these demonstrations, they're going to have to declare martial law, suspend the Constitution. Then it's over. They haven't been able to do it yet. Obama tried it. Wasn't able to do it. Didn't have enough time. Now they got this guy in there that does whatever they say. Do whatever they want him to do, he does it. And that Kamala Harris is complete stupid. She's just stupid. She's not a threat to anybody. But she has to go along with what they tell her to do. So they take away your law enforcement, and then they have federal troops. Now, I'm going to speak to the police departments and the National Guard and any kind of law enforcement people in the middle levels. The hell with you guys at the top. The people at the middle level better understand something. They cannot achieve their objective without you. If you took an oath to the Constitution, support that oath to the Constitution, and if you get inappropriate orders to come down and squash these demonstrations and shoot the protesters, understand something. You could be shooting members of your own family. If you live in California and you're in the National Guard and you get shipped over to New York to restore order, and you have to fire on people. They could be your own cousins, members of your own family, standing out there trying to fight for the republic like you think you're doing. You think you're doing good by listening to what the government tells you to do. If they tell you to if they give you an order and it's an unlawful order, you don't have to follow it. That's in the Uniform Code of Military Justice. You only have to follow appropriate orders. Folks in the military and intelligence agencies and the police departments, they cannot do this without your help. Don't help. Don't help. Well, that's all I can say is my little way of trying to fight back is trying to get as many people informed as possible. But if you want your children to grow up in this world, and this world that they have in store for us, they're going to be slaves. They're going to be slaves. And if you know somebody who is an Hispanic that came to this country illegally, and you speak Spanish, please explain to them what's going on, and explain to them that if they vote in the next election, because I think they're going to give them a right to vote. That's what the whole thing is about the open borders, to get as many Latinos in from South America as possible to create a voting bloc. Please explain to them that if you vote for these people, you're voting for what you left. Tell them the system that you left, the system of government that you left, the communism and the socialism and the oppression that you left is what's going to happen in the country where you came for opportunity. The opportunities that you came here for will no longer exist. They're only going to use you as long as they can, as long as they need you. After that, you're just going to be slaves like the rest of us. Please explain this to your non-English speaking Latino friends. Explain to them. If you vote for Democrat, you're voting for the same system of government that you left, because our Democrat Party right now is a communist party, socialist communist party. So that's all I can say. It's probably longer than I wanted to go, but the country's falling, and we, the people, are pissed off, but not doing anything about it. If I find some organizations that are involved with fighting for this, against this stuff, I'll join it. But nobody's doing it yet. God bless the Americans. God bless the United States of America. God bless our Constitution. And we know that God's hand is all over that Constitution and the Bill of Rights. That's more than man could have came up with, that it would stand a couple hundred years. Constitution was inspired by God. God, please protect us. Continue to protect us. Well, that's all, folks. God bless America. God bless you. And pray for all of us. Amen.